Hello, fellow travelers. This is Veronica from Human Design Journey, and I was tempted to look this week at another power couple. If you want to see my take on Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, you can do that in my channel. Please subscribe. And this week, I will look at this power couple. Let's see. Okay, I hope you can see. Jennifer Lopez, J-Lo, and Ben Affleck. Bennifer. This is 20 years ago, 2002, when they started their relationship, and this is 20 years later, where they rekindled their spirit together and their love affair. This is the second ring, and this is the first one. The video, famous video, Jenny from the block. I'm still Jenny from the block. Well, she's hardly Jenny from the block, because as you will see, she's more like the queen of the block. Here is her chart. And as you can see, she has the channel 4521, the money channel, Queen and Kings. So, no, Jenny was never just Jenny from the block. Jenny was always the queen on the block, the mistress of the block, the queen and the domineer. But of course, she's a 6-2 profile. So it took some time before she would shine. And actually, it's interesting because she just turned 50. And basically, as a sixth line, she just came down from the roof face. She has quite some second lines, I saw, and quite some sixth lines. And we can check out whether she will be the role model as herself in the next years to come. But looking at her development, definitely a hardworking woman who triple entertainer, an actress, a singer, and a dancer. Actually, she started her professional career as a dancer and going to dance school. She first became secretary at a law firm and started studying something in that direction, law administration or something like that, and then quit after just one semester. Started dance school, and even her parents stopped talking to her mother, for 8 months after this. Yeah, her parents came to America when they were children, and she was born in New York, the Bronx, I think. Let me check. She was born in 1969, indeed in the Bronx, a borough of the New York City. And let me go back. So interesting chart. Yeah. What makes Jennifer Lopez, she's a generator, as we can see. And what makes her a generator is basically the 360 and the 214. Power column. The channel of mutation, format, energy pulse, very powerful beings that constitute a deep influence to others. And it's the individual knowing here we have, where it can be a great source of inspiration and empowerment for oneself and especially for other people, and as well a great source of depression for people who are not living their strategy. So she's a generator here to respond in the now without being spontaneous and not under the influence of emotions. She has basically a responsive mechanism that responds in the now and mutatively in a pulse. So she can be clear at one moment and then for a long time it can be not really clear. It is very creative energy, but also we have chaotic energy, and putting actually order in the chaos, restricting, limiting to one thing in order to have it disperse and bring eventually mutation and change. On and off and on and off. Basically, mutation doesn't have a timetable. You cannot tell mutation to work. I want to be creative now. You cannot make an artist do their thing from 9 to 5. Inspiration comes when it comes. So Jenny is Jennifer Lopez is actually quite connected to her inner voice, sound, music. We have here the knowing circuit. It's about acoustics. So art and music is something that is actually quite natural for her to lean in this direction for development. It's actually the strongest part in her, the format energy. Basically, it is a place of very big creativity and potential for depression, because those are people who want change. They want things to change all the time. And imagine, for instance, when they're children and they're put in a class environment where everything is the same, where expectations are the same for everybody, and the having, for instance, the same seats every day. And those restrictions, those limitations can make those people really rebellious, actually, and wanting to overcome limitations without understanding that they can only be transcended when you let go, when you accept the limitation, only then it can be transcended, and a solution will come for how to be over the limitation. And also the tantric channel 214, the channel of the beat, which links the sacral center through the 14th gate, the gate of possession in great measure, to the second gate, the gate of the receptive in the G center. This channel, known also as the keeper of the keys, is because the second gate is where the seat of the driver is, where the G, in the G, the magnetic monopole is in the second gate. This is the most yin energy, and we can really see it actually with Jennifer Lopez, that she's quite feminine and at the same time quite powerful. We'll talk a little bit in a second about the channel of materialism. But the channel of the beat is basically an innate knowing of the right direction for others, but as well as for yourself, even if you don't know it. You just know the direction. You have the power to keep that direction. So it is the individual which empowers others by their own example. And now, after becoming 50 years of age, Jenny from the block can really come down from the roof as herself to be a role model of what it is to be a human being, just of what it is to be herself. And apparently she's quite brave to do it. Goes ahead and continues to live the theme of the sixth line, looking for the soulmate or not. I saw an interview with her preparing for this life, and she said, I'm just a romantic, and I will always believe in the romantic love and never give up. And the woman is 50. So I see often the new 30s are the 50s, you know. So she's definitely in the new 30s, in her 50s, which is amazing. Amazing. She looks great. She feels great. Being more mature, we're gonna see that also in her environment and how things change in her environment and perspective. Also in the sixth line, as you can see, and the second line, as well as her drive, the two moons, reversed though, but again in sixth and second line, and her two Mercuries again in sixth and second line. So her communication is also connected to being role model and natural. And you can really see that she's a natural in a lot of things. In just the way she's out there, outspoken. But she's an individual which can empower others by their example of what they do, and especially when you see her perform and how she from nobody became somebody. And as she sings in her song Jenny from the Block, that she didn't have anything, but now she has a lot, but she's still the same Jenny. Jenny from the Block, being part of the people, her people, their queen, but she's, of course, very individual. So she's both. And because this is a split definition, she thinks she's the problem when things don't work out, that she's not she's not doesn't live in the moment, or that she doesn't know when to be cautious and acting when in the mood, or on the opposite, not being stand still when she has to, or that she doesn't she misses the role of how to actually be this leader that she feels she is. And especially with this queen line of possession and willpower, control. Jennifer Lopez has to be in control of what she eats, what she consumes, where she lives, what she dresses, what she works, how she works, where she works, who works for her. Basically, she's the queen. She's a true queen. She's a manifesting generator, um, owning everything that she touches. It's the channel of materialism, material expression, a will to control. Mm. The 45th gate, the gate of the mistress, the domineering, to have, not to have, to receive, not to receive, to be able to control, and not to be able to control. It all starts here. This is the gate of action, of willpower. And it can also be the gate of selfishness, especially in the not self, because the king's power has also the responsibility to benefit the tribe. If you cannot be of benefit and of use to your tribe, basically you're not worth. It's always about distributing resources that you have. And also she has the 27th, the 6th gate, and it is about protection and giving. It's her actually son, design son, is in nourishment, the gate of caring, self-sufficiency, the obvious law that to give one must have. And being the queen who has the design of materialist, the money line, basically, it's the tribe wants two things: money and secure and reliable commitment from everyone to be tribal together. The 45th, the queen, king, and 21st, the hunter, the huntress. It is the responsibility of the two working together to make sure the tribe has these two things: the landlord who gives the land, and the hunter who has to find the animals to feed everybody. As long as the king has the best piece of the pie, he leaves the hunter to hunt in his land. So people with this channel, they it's the materialism in this way that they walk in somewhere and they own the place. It's like they own the place, and you could really see it actually. I forgot to prepare this picture, but you could really see it. I watched, her green, her famous green dress from Donatella Versace, where she wore 20 years ago and then again recently. I have to show you, it's amazing. The green dress, you for sure know it. She really walks like a queen. here the two pictures. I'm gonna share. Okay. Here. I hope you see. This is the original. You see how her gentle feminine look, and in her 50s, how confident she wears the second version of that dress. Okay. Let me share again her chart. So basically, this is a person for whom financial dealings, the stock market, the banks, the speculation, it's part of the world. Dividends on investment over time. And you could see that she for sure became a financial success. I think she has her own some perfume, was it, or something else she started with. She's a producer as well. She has quite some success also in the movies. Actually, she's the first artist who had in the same week #1 music and in the music charts, and her movie coming out and being box office success. So as you see, interesting design, thinking that she's missing something, and blaming herself for when things go wrong, thinking that she's not competitive enough, and all kinds of other bullshit stories she might have in her head. While just the whole thing of being a split definition is that those people are actually those which help us maintain our relationships because they're able to, they're the ones who make exceptions and compromises, and they compromise in relationships. If all of us were single definitions, probably relationships would be probably also much straightforward, but because you wouldn't need others to feel your two sides, to connect them. But at the same time, no space for compromise. So split definitions are here to learn and to teach us about relationships, and how to be with the other, only not becoming hooked on it and looking for, in her case, the fault in herself. No, here not actually. But she also has, on one hand, it's her individual nature, being in a pulse, being in a rhythm, and at the same time, she voices out her owning her stimulation from her expression and life force, being in the gate of the stimulation, a line of caution, the prudence when linkage has been achieved, to honor its new commitments in order to secure its footing, honesty in expression, living by one's word. In exaltation is the wanderer. So she's really here to stimulate, and you can see she does that, especially the Super Bowl with Christina Aguilera. No, sorry. Yeah, actually, yeah. They did quite Latino night. 30 minutes of glamour and rhythm. The super Latino girls on the Super Bowl. And this was a good one. Or it was actually Shakira and Jennifer Lopez, sorry. So, yeah, an interesting manifesting generator who thinks she's a manifester because she has a pure manifesting channel with a split from the sacral. And if she does not respond and then act, she's in trouble if she initiates. And definitely she has that inclination to do. Also, the first 30 years of her life, she for sure made a lot of mistakes. Also in such an environment, oppressive, and the gate of determination of the self, the prima donna was her environment, the difficult and demanding nature that succeeds despite its behavior because of the depth of its talents. So that was her environment the first 30 years. At the same time, this can be unrealistic demands and offensive nature of egocentric mediocrity. The determination to be treated as a success before it has been realized. But now she is in the second part of her life, so it's more about the innocence and the spirit of the self, the existentialist devotion and dedication to the now, the perfection of the intellect through concentration and focus of what is rather than what could be or has been. The innocence of the self and its protection can only be maintained in the now. A dedication that can never be free of personal motivation and its attendant projections, a lack of innocence in the now that risks protection through projection. So, love of the body. On one hand, we see the 46th line is actually gate is actually activated 4 times in the prima donna, in the projection, and in the impact. In Uranus, the unusualness, chaos, and innovation. Third line, projection, a practical approach to good fortune that maintains the same patterns and attitudes that brought success and does not get sidetracked by indulging in further expectations. The determination to stay with what brings success. And the detriment, a tendency through projection to treat the potential future as the present, leading to unjustified egoism and the loss of momentum and support. The determination to treat projected success as reality. As you see, success is a big theme in her life. Pushing upward the gate to determination of the self, again in the third line. And we also have it in, the second line here, and Jupiter, fourth line, impact, the ability once recognized to move rapidly from a position of obscurity to influence. And that's her law and protection. You see, the good luck which comes from being determined that eventually in the right place at the right time leads to recognition. We could really see it in her life. It might seem like she had a lot of good luck to gain her success, but it was preparedness which meets opportunity. And the detriment, the reaction in achievement that tends to bite off the hand that fed it. The determination in success to ignore those who helped create it. I don't know about that in her life exactly, but how it can be played out. But definitely pushing upward, being really really following through and pushing upward, being consistent. I heard that she has amazing, tough workouts and a lot of dance routines and exercise to keep her shape, maybe even overdoing it. But she looks good, feels great, looks amazing for her age. So in her innocence, being the role model that she is living by her own, by stimulation and by her word, and also being actually, this is where she shines in the water, the gate of stimulation, line caution, living by one's word, and at the same time getting her grounding and balance in the gate of limitation, the gate of acceptance, and in the line of rigidity. The intuitive intellect recognizes when absolute rigidity is essential, but with innovative applications to lessen its severity, a fixed energy that is unusual in its capacity for restraint. And the detriment, the dogmatic, principled, and carefully reasoned understanding that is uncompromising in its severity and often coldly brutal in operation, an uncompromising and severe acceptance of restraint. So uncompromising that the restraint may become unbearable and lead to chronic depression. So she can over restrain herself to keep her good looks and good form and physical, and for sure this woman can be overly pushy towards herself, especially if she points this energy towards herself, which she for sure does. This can be quite a thing, quite even it can be devastating, depending on the severity of the restraint you put on yourself. But she looks well balanced, so probably that's not the case. And especially we can see that she has an open solar plexus, so she can avoid truth and confrontation, be emotional and nervous, and her system can be under a lot of pressure, with moodiness around her. Feelings, emotions, desires can confuse her, not knowing what's best for her, wanting to be spontaneous, but maybe holding on to things which are not good for her. And at the same time, not knowing what is inspiring, not knowing what to think, trying to be overly opinionated and conceptualizing and being clear, and trying to be certain, trying to convince everyone and herself that she's super certain of how to be financially successful and how to change things around her, and basically being in her own flow with fixed patterns. Her this is her Martian energy, which is the non mature energy. It's immature energy, which matures with time, and it's an energy dynamics in the gate of waiting, the gate of fixed patterns. In the line of yielding, waiting is never free from pressure, physical or mental, and is often punctuated by the unexpected. The growth of awareness that comes with bending to the universal flow, accepting that in one's fixed rhythm, despite the pressures, growth will be empowered and often through the unexpected. No polarity. So this is if she's in her own flow, responding to things, waiting for the world to come to her before she can manifest, everything will go smoothly like a smooth operator. in her life. She's a left angle, so she's driven by the other. And the nice thing is that she gets in her relationship with Ben Affleck also a left angle. He is a 5-1 heretic investigator, and she's a role model hermit. So they can have quite a special relationship, and also quite possible that it is karmic, and not necessarily, but actually quite possible, because you can see he has in his notes her sun Earth. So he's bound to meet people like her in his environment. Okay, so let's look at Ben Affleck. He's also a manifesting generator, and as we know in relationships, any relationship can work, and any great relationship can also not work, and that's depending on whether you entered correctly and whether you're authentically yourself in that relationship. So, but we know that although difference attracts, sameness is easier. Sameness is recognition. Sameness can be quite comfortable, and it can be easier. It can be easy. So they're both manifesting generators. So they're the same type, and it's maybe a little bit easier to understand the other. But as we can see, we have here a very different design. We have the integration 3457, 5710, and the centering 3410. So we have 3 channels which are very individual. And what do we have with Jennifer? Also 2 individual channels. So again, we have some kind of sameness. And when 2 individual creatures are together, they can really admire and empower each other to be themselves, to be freaky, and to be individual, to be mutative, and that can be quite comfortable as well. Here we have somebody who has the channel of the archetype of what it is to be human, which basically 3457, it links the spleen center to the 57, the gate of intuitive clarity, to the 34th, the gate of the power in the sacral center. So here we're seeing the actual empowering of intuitive intelligence as the sacral is connected to the spleen. It is a direct link from the power of life to the awareness of health and well-being. Basically, it is not a channel to empower others. It's more to empower yourself. It can be quite arrogant, this configuration. It can be pretty bold-fashioned, like I'm here to survive, whether you're with me or not. You can barely exist to them. This is why they're archetypes. These are people designed to be archetypes of being human. They're pure in their focus to be alive. It is basically an empowerment which is not here to be shared with others. It's simply being alive, simply being. The spleen is being in the now, surviving in the now, and it is quite animalistic channel. Basically, the 57 operates on an acoustic level to screen all sounds for an ongoing sense of harmony. And the 34th is generator gate response with great power to implement things according to acoustic changes that may affect one's realm and be extremely basically attuned to what's going on around them to stay alive. This is a person who has the intuition and knows how to stay alive, knows how to survive. Basically, this design, it can be extremely fit and healthy, providing that they follow their strategy and authority. Of course, can also be melancholy in individuality, and it can also be quite creative. Then we have the channel of the perfected form, the 5710, which links the spleen center through the 57, the gate of intuitive clarity to the 10, the gate of behavior, the self in the G center. And it is again, this is the creative channel of integration, by the way, where the spleen center takes care of the physical health. Again, we have survival and well-being, and the G center relating to our sense of purpose and connectedness here in life. So basically, the gate of potentially pure intuition, the 57, and based on the ability to detect very subtle differences in sound, connected to how to behave in order to survive. Basically, with the gate of place and fixing the behavior and the patterns of behavior. Basically, the result is a design of a personal survival. Again, we have basically the creativity in this channel. Again, it's not for others, rather it's the creative strategies developed to specifically aid one's own survival. It is the channel in which we creatively modify and enhance our behavioral patterns to survive. People with this channel somehow or other come through all kinds of disasters and upsets, hopefully through being alert to their intuition and modifying their lives accordingly. Basically, it's a great sense of intuition which knows how to behave to survive in the now. And it is a primal level of survival. It is the spleen is generally our most primal awareness center. So it is very much attuned in the now of how to survive in the now. And as we can see, Jennifer has an open spleen. So in the presence with Ben, she feels secure, feels safe, like everything can be okay. And of course, at the same time, there is the risk that she gets attached to this person. And even when they had their first separation, she shared that it was her first heartbreak, and I can understand that she felt quite insecure when he was gone. At the same time, it can be, I'm not saying this is with them, like it was with another unfamous couple, but here we have the classical open spleen, defined spleen relationship, which can go it can go quite wrong, because the open spleen can get addicted to the defined spleen, and defined spleen can actually, they're very good at being threatening, abuser abused, classical relationship. There is always this chance to develop here, because in his presence, she feels secure, safe, and no matter how he treats her, that fat, healthy spleen, when it touches her aura, she feels like she can survive with him. So, especially after 50 and at the second half of your life, this can be quite comfortable to have around. At the same time, we know that Ben Affleck has a history of alcohol abuse. He's a recovering alcoholic with several relapses in time, already an alcoholic when he was a teenager, I think, with a lot of family history of alcoholism and drug addictions, starting with his father, his uncle, his aunt, his brother is a recovering alcoholic, his grandparents as well. He's from Irish and German, I think, and other descent. But we can see also with him the potential for depression when one does not live according to their authenticity and responding to life, waiting without initiating, because here we also have this manifesting generator, single definition, by the way. He doesn't need others to feel whole. So he will for sure not be the one in their relationship who will be doing the compromises. We can actually see it also in their partnership chart that dominance channels only Ben Affleck has. And with dominance, the design of survival, the perfected form, and the wavelength, the design of talent, the 4816, will be energy which Jennifer will be quite admiring, but she doesn't have dominance channels. So yeah, can be, he can also be admiring to her, but not as much as she can get addicted to him. On the other hand, he has a completely open will center. So he can be absolutely inadequate about his worth and value. And she, with her defined ego, makes him want to prove himself and giving him a sense of worth, sense of value. So this can also be, for him, quite, on one hand, pushing his will and wanting to be willful. And on the other hand, since it's a completely open center, if he really went through the wisdom of this center and mastered it, then this would totally not push his buttons, and he will be okay with the whole situation and knowing his worth, which is actually what they say, that he's not in any ways affected by her fame and not being comfortable with it. He's actually quite okay and respectful, which I can believe. Certainly seems that he's not really, he doesn't have a problem with being, let's say, domineered by her, although they have a compromise exactly in the 4521. So he's also a king, you know. A king. And actually her latest song, Marry Me, for her movie, I think she sings something like, I'm looking for a king, I'm a queen looking for her king, or something like that. So yeah, she definitely found her king. But let's look at the 3410 in his chart, the channel of exploration, the channel of centering, which connects the gate of power the gate of power in the sacral center to the gate of treating. And here we have a channel that strongly empowers behavior. Basically, it is empowering the behavior itself, and it's a generated channel, which means that as long as these people are responding, their power is behaving correctly, and their behavior is always perfect. This is what it means to follow one's convictions. It's the channel of following one's convictions, because the 10th gate is the gate of the love of self. So when you're empowering that, when you follow your natural responses, then you become centered in your convictions, no matter how unusual those convictions may be. Those people are basically like a whirlpool of energy, which just attracts and swishes everything around them, putting them in their own power and for their own doing. So everybody around them finds themselves doing things for them. But basically, out of this behavior comes the love of oneself. So people with activations in the centering circuit have an aura that creates a kind of a vortex around them. It is this power of the centering that can draw so much attention to themselves. And whether this attention is positive or negative always depends upon whether they're waiting to respond or initiating. And since he's a manifesting generator, he has the possibility to get power to the throat, to the manifesting. And this is a person who quite fast can do things before he's sure whether he's responding to them or not. Basically, people with this definition have a very fixed behavioral pattern, meaning that they're comfortable and solid within themselves if they live their design. It's part of the individual circuit, and it has a tremendous capacity of being able to empower others. This channel is really to empower others, not like the integration channels, which are here for themselves, really. Also, the 3410 is also here for themselves, but they empower others to feel comfortable and solid within themselves as well by being a role model in a way. In his case, this will be in being heretical and investigating revolution, because this is his life purpose. So quite an interesting combination, actually. But the not self of the 3410 could be, and they may be a bit rigid, with empowering their own sense of uniqueness. Something like, I'm going to be like this, whether you like it or not. I'm just going to be like this, and this is my behavior. However, for you, it will be healthy if your behavior is a little bit different. So those people can be a little bit telling you, how to be, what to do. But if they're respectful and they leave you to be yourself, this is what also the individual channels, people with individual channels have amongst each other. They leave each other to be themselves. If you leave me to be me, I'll leave you to be you. So there is this unspoken understanding hanging in the air there. Empowerment, just because you allow yourself to be yourself. And then we have with him, totally unconscious, the channel of the wavelength, a design of a talent. And we can really see how talented he is, but he doesn't know that of himself. Basically, he doesn't know that he has the depth and the skills to promote mastery. Basically, mastery comes from repetitive experimenting, and striving for perfection. Basically, it is to be able to love something so much that you repeat it enough times as for it to become a mastership, to become something that, you know, if you play an instrument, to be a musician, you have to practice a lot. Or if you're an actor or whatever, it takes a lot of repetition and a lot of stamina to, they both have, I see now, 28 gate, fighting for what's worth it, looking for meaning. But here we have somebody who is really skillful, has the depth, has the skill, and is really talented in what they do. With so much activations in the throat, though, this will not be a person that waits. And we see that in their relationship, both times he was the initiator. So we don't say that this is incorrect because he might be responding to her, which probably happens. Usually, I see with those actors, they meet on during shooting movies on movie sets. This is where Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez met for the first time on the movie set of Giggly. This is where they fell in love. And that's how everything started. At the same time, this person, as I said, he has completely open ego center, doesn't know what he's worth, wanting to give promises, wanting to be willful, putting himself under pressure of proving himself. And this is probably what came to break their relationship the first time. They shared, Jennifer shared that the biggest turnoff from their relationship was the big media coverage and them really being followed by paparazzi. And actually they had to make 3 different locations with 3 different fake brides for their wedding day. And then they realized something's really going off here. The media attention was too much. They never expected it to be too much. And at the beginning, when they were so open heartedly sharing everything, that the media jumped on them and basically devoured them. While on the other hand, Ben mentions that she was so severely attacked on racist and sexist comments against her 20 years ago in 2002, things that people would have never imagined to say nowadays in 2022, especially after the Me Too movement and all this political correctness and sexism and racism awareness. So people were really terrible to her back then, but now she has proven herself with this quite defined will center. She showed that who's the queen, who's the man, who's the woman. And it is yeah, an interesting relationship, how it declined and then now is on the rise again. We have here an open root center. So Ben Affleck will be somebody who will be under pressure to be in a hurry to get rid of the pressure, trying to get rid of the pressure, and just being around Jen, J-Law will be giving him pressure, just being around her. And he will be wanting to act upon it. And they have a very interesting connection here. He also carries the limitation, but doesn't have the order gate. So it will be a compromise here as well. And Jennifer will be actually, it will be in her pulse, things happening. And together, they're still, then he's also not emotional. But together they have the electromagnetic 59.6 and 12.22, which is quite something. They have 4 electromagnetics. The other one is 5.15, which actually is a difficult one because one carries the extremes. Ben, he's the alcoholic, and she carries the rhythm, being a design of being in the flow. So it can go well, but usually the 2145 and the 515 electromagnetics are a little bit more difficult to go through, especially if incorrect. Actually, when incorrect, everything will be difficult, but they can definitely get into their own flow and be in their own rhythm together. Although they have a split in their relationship, and they have a 9-0 relationship, so they're enough for each other, but it will be very sparky or sparkly, both. Great romantic relationship, and we could see with the 2 rings and him first giving her this pink rare stone, and now it's the green rare stone. So this guy is very romantic for her, and she really loves that about him. Especially she's the gentle, and the 22nd gate is quite something. Let's see, she has it especially in the where is it? Okay, it is her perspective in the second part of her life. Grace, the gate of openness in the line of maturity, the alignment with experience of form with substance, natural and evident leadership and authority, the possibility that the experience in social interaction will result in a leadership capacity. She has really in her genetic imperative leadership as a theme. The alignment tends to express itself in non-conformist modes, the possibility that experience in social interaction will result in a non-conformist expression of openness. And he, on the other hand, has the 12th gate, his driving force, and focus of the mind in standstill, the gate of caution in the 4th line, the prophet, the ability to foresee and plan for the end of standstill, the rousing of the stagnant for communal preparation, the ability to foresee and express the needs for social interaction, and an end to caution, the voice in the wilderness, the expressed need for social interaction that falls on deaf ears. So they will be together, can be open to people's circumstances on some occasions when they're in the mood together, or they can be closed off to the entire world and be in their own romantic place and love to fill in their open emotional center with some feelings and emotions and sparks, because he carries the 59th gate, Mars, his Martian energy, which is dynamic and immature energy, in in the gate of dispersion, the gate of sexuality, 1st line, the preemptive strike, the authority and vitality that in understanding purpose and direction can recognize and eliminate barriers before they become impregnable. The power of fertility to impregnate. In this position, the ability and intelligence to recognize, but a deep indecisiveness about how and when to act. The potential of fertility limited by uncertainty. Looking actually at these electromagnetic they have, I'm quite surprised they didn't have a child together. So this is really the stone man, stone woman, prehistoric bam bam type Flintstone man who goes bang on the head and takes the woman back to his cave. And this is how he went the first time, and maybe a little bit gentler the second time to Jennifer, just grabbing her out of the scene and in his arms. And she has the sixth gate 3 times in the gate of conflict, the gate of friction, the fundamental design component of progress, the law that growth cannot exist without friction. And it's true. And there is also no pleasure without friction, if you think about it. So she has Jupiter in the 6th line, her law and protection, the peacemaker, and Pluto in the 1st line, both retreat. So conflict, the gate of friction, in retreat, the realization that wasting one's resources against overwhelming odds is not courage, but folly. The power of regeneration that can embrace retreat as a phase and not a failure. The emotional stability to accept conflict. That's what Jennifer brings to the relationship. And it is actually the place where the 3 waves of the emotional center meet. So it can be quite an explosive relationship they have, very sexually charged. They don't need inspiration from outside to be aroused by each other. So it can be quite beautiful. As we said, Ben has 2 dominance channels, a design of survival, the channel of the perfected form, 5710, and the channel of the wavelength, 4816. So Jennifer will be seeing his talent and also his feeling for space and putting things together and making them better fit together, perfected form. So the form is to be perfected. And they, as I said, they have also 4 electromagnetic channels being together in the flow, the channel of mating, the channel of openness, and the channel of awareness and of the thinker. So together, they can be quite inspired. It is actually beautiful because both of them are very individual people, and they bring together the channel of inspiration, the channel of the thinker. So together they can explore the unknowable or the mysteries of life and the mysterious in general and all those interesting Mayan things. But they certainly have to give a break to each other because in a 9-0 relationship, this is essential that from time to time you breathe, have space to breathe, see other people. But since they have both children, they will have to be probably quite often in penta. So it is quite up to them whether they're authentic and whether they respond with each other. It is the potential to be quite inspiring and quite a relationship where they really value each other and their input, a relationship where they can have a lot of fun and a lot of romantic and sensual experiences together, being appreciative of each other's individual and freaky energy, quite creative, both. So it can be quite empowering for both of them to share partnership, to share their authenticity, as long as they don't become Bennifer. It should be Jennifer and Benjamin and Jennifer are two different people, which together can bring something beautiful. And two whole people creating something more, creating a synergy, and not two halves looking to be one whole. Maybe that's what didn't go the first time. Maybe that's what's gonna come around the second time. Jennifer brings a role model to the relationship. Ben brings heretical investigation to the relationship. They're left angle profiles. They're both manifesting generators. There is quite a potential of living their driven by the other lives with the community, with themselves, and with each other. Wish them good luck this time. Let them have their correct relationship and be satisfied and find peace. This is Veronica from Human Design Journey, and this was my take on Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck relationship and partnership. Talk to you soon, and hope you have your own wonderful, fulfilling, and expanding consciousness relationships. Bye for now.